Hey everyone, welcome back to the Kingdom of Luninberg. The year is 1315, and today we are going to focus on the fort near the settlement of Fort Underwood. As you may have seen from our Instagram page, the construction of this fort was halted during the kingdom's first ever war, which spanned from 1307 to 1310. If you're interested in delving deeper into the war and Luninberg's history, be sure to check out our Instagram and Reddit pages for additional content. So with that said, let's dive into building Stonegale Fort. Given I put the word fort in the settlement's title, I didn't really have a choice but to add an army fort. Since it is so far away from the royal city and the royal fort within, I think regardless of what I name the settlement, this area was going to need some type of large outpost to protect the people living there, as well as protecting the land that they work on. Here you see me putting the finishing touches on the moat, which will add an extra layer of support in defending the fort. Parts of Fort Underwood are actually below the nearby lake's water level, so I needed to reshape the land a little bit to prevent washing away the area it's being built to protect. I also had to change the layout of the Eastern Trail, which of course is the only way between the two main regions by land. So here you see me kind of wrapping it around the moat, which I think will look really good as time goes on and the area gets more developed. But for now, let's focus on the fort itself as we begin work on the actual fort, specifically the main defensive walls surrounding the main buildings within. You'll see me add a second wall which is shorter than the current one, and that will go around the entire fort as an extra layer of protection. I picked these walls mainly because I like both the lookout spots and how wide the walkways on top are. I think it's perfect for patrols and obviously defending the fort if the first wall is breached. I will say I had a lot more trouble than I was expecting getting the angles right when placing the walls, but nevertheless, after about 50 hours I was able to get everything worked out. I ended up placing a buffer in between the lookout segments as well, just to spread things out a bit, and I think it ended up looking a lot better. While working on the wall, I realized I didn't have any building assets selected, which would really allow people to walk from them onto the top of the wall very quickly. So here you see me adding the first of 3 ramps, which will allow for access to the top of the wall. This may turn out to be a mistake, but I put one of the main ramps oddly close to the main gate, so hopefully the first set of gates succeed in keeping people out. You'll also see me include stairs, which I think look nice, but I kept the ramps since I felt they would also need a way of moving larger equipment on top of the wall. I also placed this tower here and in another place to act as both a lookout and a place to plan and give orders when things are going on just outside the fort's walls within view. So while work on the wall continues, I just wanted to give a quick update on the direction of the kingdom and the channel itself. I plan on continuing to release videos on Fridays like this one, where we'll be building a project within the kingdom or updating aspects of the kingdom itself as the years go on. I also plan on releasing more content throughout the week, which provides more information on the backstory and why these projects are even being built in the first place. Personally, I find the story behind the cities very interesting when working on other cities in the past, but I don't think I'm a great storyteller. And I know people watching these videos are mostly interested in city skyline side of things, so that's where these videos will mainly stay. Over the next few weeks, you'll start seeing more regular content on both of these aspects, and as we near the end of the Middle Ages, you'll start to see more content which recaps the kingdom's progression so far. I've started working on the next phase of the kingdom's history, and it will likely have a significant time jump when compared to the previous durations between projects. I'm thinking somewhere between 75 and 100 years, maybe longer. However, I still have a lot of other projects I want to do during this early time period, so I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do yet, but it is going to be an extended period of time in between the worlds time. Last thing I'll say before getting back into the project, I do have a plan for how the people of Luninberg are going to make their way into City Skylines 2, but how it plays out will depend on where the kingdom is when the game comes out. I still plan on working on the kingdom until we get into the current century, so the year 2023 at least, but I also don't want to miss out on playing City Skylines 2 when it's released, so for a while we'll definitely be working on both, but I'm not sure how long that's going to be. way back into the build again. Here we're working on sort of a large training area and a gathering place outside the main fort complex. This area will be within the first defensive wall and will also include a large fence to provide additional protection, but also obscure the outside view of the soldiers' training. There are some lookout towers on these walls as well, because why not? I guess they didn't want to take any chances after the recent war they fought. Speaking of not taking any chances, I've also included these large brick stairs, which will have cannons on top. If anyone knows of any good catapult assets, please let me know in the comments. I'd love to diversify the defensive equipment, and I think a catapult would really look awesome here. So now we begin work on the buildings within the fort's walls, starting with a large church for troops living within the fort. Given it's a profession with a high mortality rate, and the fact that Fort Underwood does not have a large church of its own, I thought it would be a good idea to have one included within the fort's walls. I also want this fort to be a community center with a marketplace. and a place to take refuge during attacks. You will also see me adding some admin buildings for the leaders, and some barracks for the troops, as well as a large watchtower in the center, which is, yes, meant to be a lookout, but it's also meant to project power in the area surrounding the fort and the edges of the kingdom. So here I'm starting to add more buildings to be used to store weapons and supplies and other equipment needed for a fort like this. There will also be a place for the support workers to live, which includes the people who create the uniforms, the weapons, and the other supplies the troops will need. So I thought this could be the main staging area for the troops before heading out into battles or other campaigns. From here, they can strategize, prepare, and get equipment for the military endeavors, ensuring readiness to face challenges ahead. The fort's location allows for central command, a secure retreat, and a smooth communication between units, making it a symbol of strength and protection for the kingdom, as well as something that projects power. So normally I use these buildings as markets, and I think you even see me using them later on in this video, but here I thought they would be good for the cavalry stables, since they're pretty open. And they allow for a lot of movement. I had to look for others, but I couldn't find many assets that could be used as stables for this time period, but if anyone has any suggestions, I'm all ears. Given the limitation of assets for this time period, the fort will look pretty basic for the beginning of its life, but I promise it will become more and more detailed and important to Luninberg's history as time goes on. So this area here will be the barracks for the troops living on the fort, and as time goes on and the needs of the fort evolve, some of these barracks will be repurposed for essential functions or at the monarch's direction. This adaptability will assure that the fort remains versatile and capable of meeting changing demands of the kingdom and its army. So now we'll be working on the final main section of the fort, which will include another build with amenities for the troops that they would need while living in the fort. There is also a marketplace in front for the people to come and work, and for soldiers to get supplies once they get paid. I've also included this other small church building, which I think will be used as like a smaller indoor market, maybe something that requires cooler temperatures. Well, that's everything for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed watching the construction of Luninberg's first major fort outside the city walls. Sorry it's been so long in between videos. I just booked my first solo vacation, so I've been really excited and busy planning that. But anyway, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. It would be great if you could give this video a like if you want to see more from the Kingdom of Luninberg.